If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in the near future, you could be making a massive mistake. Alex Brackey with the Valor Group, and I'm coming to you to tell you that 2024 is going to be the year of the 5's. Now, what in the world does that mean? So I think this is going to be critically important for anybody who is looking to buy or sell a house in either 2024 or 2025, because it's going to affect everybody. And this isn't just in Northern Virginia or the DC metro region where we're located. This is nationwide. And so what I mean by the fact that this is going to be the year of the 5's is typically in a normal year. I would say 2023 was not a normal year. 2024 certainly is not going to be. Even 2022 wasn't exactly a normal year. But going back to a normal year, typically you have about 2.5% of the general population actually moves for some reason or another. Could be a job transfer, could be marriage, divorce, new baby, kids grew up, moved out, but for some reason they're selling, moving into a new home. Typically about the number's 2.5% of the population. Over the last year and a half, 2 years, really since interest rates spiked in the summer of 22, we've had a slowdown in the market. And so we've had much fewer numbers of folks that were actually moving into a new home or selling the house that they're in. That's led to some of the inventory problems that we have. Folks are not selling the house and moving on to the next stage of life because they're locked into a low interest rate and don't want to pay 8% or 7% or wherever the interest rates went to. So they're locked in. But more importantly, the folks who were shopping for homes starting in 22, they were shopping for homes when the rates were 3%, and then they saw them go to 8%. That really discouraged a lot of folks from moving, and so they put off that decision. Here's why this matters, is because people are only going to put off those decisions for so long, right? Human beings, our very nature is we don't like to be in a state of stress or discomfort for terribly long in many instances. And so the folks who have been putting this off for 2 years in many instances, a lot of them are just saying, hey, enough's enough, right? Hey, I've maybe been divorced from my spouse now for 2 years, living in the same household, and enough's enough, right? We've just had it. Or, we've been cramped in our house. We had, 2 more kids in this time, and we are just bursting at the seams. Enough is enough. And so you're going to have a lot more folks just based on that alone, life circumstance, being tired of living in a house that no longer suits their needs. They are coming back into the market. This is going to happen in much larger numbers than has been the case. Again, normally that number is 2.5% per year. I think that number is going to jump to 5% this year because we have this big backlog, right? It's going to be a lot of folks that are getting into the market who normally would have 2 years ago or 1 year ago, but for reasons of the interest rates or maybe it was the inventory, they didn't do it. We do have some folks who are going to be selling that house because as interest rates begin falling, the pain of that change, going from a 3% interest rate on their current mortgage to maybe a 5% interest rate, isn't going to be nearly as painful. And again, enough's enough, right? They're tired of living in the circumstance that they have that no longer, the house that no longer suits their needs. And the other thing is that as interest rates continue to fall, and they will this year, that's going to create more demand from buyers and from sellers alike, right? Sellers, again, getting in because the interest rates have fallen. And so that's the other piece of this year of the 5's is that, our interest rates did get as high as the 8's, when they had been in the as low as the 2's at one point. I actually know somebody who bought the rate down and got into the 1's. Not the point. But when interest rates got to the 8's, that really pushed a lot of folks out of the market. And we are beginning to see a lot of those leading indicators of rates that are going to begin falling. Things like the inflation rate coming back into a manageable territory. Seeing the economy is not just crushing, right? I mean, it's coming back into a more normal state of being. And so these are some of the things that, I think the Fed, I'm no economist, but I believe these are some of the things that the Fed was looking to have happen by raising the interest rates, trying to bring some of this stuff under control some. And once it was under control, then they could begin easing those interest rates. And that's beginning to happen. They've already said as much that that's going to begin happening this year. And so this year will be the year that we get back into the 5% interest rates. So between the number of folks that are moving this year, jumping from 2.5% to 5%, and then getting back into the 5% interest rates, that's where the year of the 5s come in. But again, this is not something where I would encourage folks wait to buy a home until the rates hit the 5s, because just as you are interested in that, so too are going to be millions and millions of other people. There will be far more buyers that enter the market when this happens than sellers, because you still have some folks that are holding on to a 2.5 or 2% interest rate on their mortgage that don't want to jump to a 5.5, right? And so you're going to have a lot more folks wanting to buy a house than there are available homes to buy. And that's going to present a lot of competition. That's why we are not going to see prices fall this year, right? Prices are definitely going to go up because it's a simple supply and demand equation. Supply is going to be low, demand is going to be exceedingly high by the end of this year. And so if you are thinking about buying the next home, whether you have to sell one first or not, whether you're a first-time buyer, you are much wiser to get in sooner than later, if you can. I realize some folks can't do that because of their situation. If you can, though, maybe you were waiting for, the last child to finish out senior year or something like that. Look, I would tell you it might be a good idea to move your timeline up a little bit if possible, because you're going to be money way ahead. You're going to be able to still refinance the rate when the rates fall in a year, right? You can still take advantage of the lower rates when they happen, but you're not going to be able to take advantage of the lower prices. Prices are going up. Save this video. You can check me on this in a year. Prices are absolutely going up. I would bet my house on it. So guys, get in sooner rather than later. You can still take advantage of lower interest rates when they happen with a refinance, but you're not going to be able to go back in time and get the lower prices that you have right now.